minutes, he had already left.
But I don't.
Derek is our dude,
If he's on a call, then
yeah.
maybe he should be.
A lot of this looks like exactly the same.
Nasty coffee, I don't make
It's
coffee.
so
Yes,
bad.
yes, it is exactly the same.
Yeah.
And I
We'll send-
had drank
We'll send
drinking some,
everybody to Gabe's.
really, I can't even
office
say the
for
word
coffee.
drink. I've had some bad coffee in my time, but I must say, that's the
Isn't
worst.
that weird? It's the same idea.
No, it's that, and that's the pot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that pot. I think it's the haunted pot, yeah.
It's just a what if, because it's just this one we haven't had.
Problems?
You're trying to give me great water.
We talked about that earlier, I mean, we were sitting there. Yes,
Yeah,
Sorry.
we're not gonna-
For the little bit of difference.
Yeah, it's not that much, it's just, it's been here. It was actually in the other building before they opened this one up. So it's more of a, can there be, because we can't wait a month to get that approved if it goes out, so it's more
Hey,
of
Fred,
a.
Barb,
come
how are
on
you
in.
doing?
How are you doing?
Doing well yourself?
Good.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing well, how are you?
Not too
Come have a
bad.
seat, because we're missing a couple of people
Okay.
today.
Gary's gonna come?
He said he's gonna, I saw him earlier, and I think he's planning on coming. He usually goes home.
Long time no see, has been a long time.
Yeah, it has.
I wouldn't,
Yep.
I would've never made it. Not as bad as the last time I was, though.
How you doing?
Good, how are you doing?
Doing well, doing well.
How are you?
Doing well.
See
Well,
how
we
it
need-
looks.
We need one more to show up
Yeah,
in order to have a meeting.
he'll be on his way.
It probably does that.
No call.
It's like a negative, because it prints from a different file, I don't know why.
Oh, so that you can't use it as artwork, probably? Well, some of those places, when you design something, they'll let you see it the right way, but if you go to print it or save it, it saves it differently, so you can't just use it as a.
Might be a Picasso there. Fella.
Well, the clock stayed within 3 minutes for a month. so-
That's
For a
pretty
month?
amazing.
For a month, yeah, pretty
That's
impressed.
hard to believe. Well, of course, we hadn't had no power outages. That one, the batteries just go with the flow. Too much juice and.
If it's warm in here, then it runs fast. If it's cold in here, then it runs slow. That sounds like
That's him.
That sounds like his door opening.
Yeah. We both,
So that sounds like your door opening.
Does that look better?
this was one of them rough days. Hey, how are you, dear? Looks like you're tired.
Okay.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, they just need to, they've got it, so they could have it.
Right.
I was doing the same thing the other day. Willie came, come to Branson, go back to Chile, they couldn't hear, they go back.
And they come all the way back to town, you read?
Yeah,
Excuse me, Fred. You're in the danger zone.
yeah.
Okay. It's 4:30 on
Is that what
the,
you got on the money?
yeah.
Alright, I'm gonna record this.
Oh, we ain't got our,
We haven't gotten that.
that's your job now.
That's what I
You
told
gotta watch
him.
that back.
Yep. Call to order.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Joe Martinez here.
George Dasco here.
Eric Navarette here. We have a quorum.
Yes, we do.
Proof of notice.
I didn't see a problem.
No other problems with the proof?
No.
Approval of minutes from March 28th, 2018.
I didn't see that problem.
I didn't see any problem with them.
I didn't see
I wasn't
didn't
here,
see
so.
any- Yeah, I didn't see any corrections in
A
the
motion to accept.
So moved.
second. It's gonna be easy here.
Yeah.
Done.
Joe Martinez, yes.
George Dasco, yes.
Derek Navarette abstained. Okay, recognition of George Dasco's years of service.
Yeah, you didn't have to do this, you know.
We do, George, because I mean, honestly, we wanted to make sure that you realize how much we appreciate you, all the crews do too, for being a voice of reason, and I mean, bringing the knowledge that you had from your years of managing things was so helpful here, while you were here. It was a pleasure to have you, and I think the district is in a much better place. Other than JoJo, I haven't worked as long with anybody else in this place, and I just think the district is in a better place because of you, and so we wanted to get this to you.
Thank you.
So, you're recognized.
Thank you, George. It's always a pleasure.
Okay.
And we do have
Yes.
cupcakes, they're cake that are like cupcakes, so
We can have them after.
that matters. But thank you, George.
You want my sugar to go up, huh?
Sorry.
Any public comments?
I'll talk, because I'm going to take off after this. But we ran on a cardiac arrest today. The crews did great. In May, we're putting a waiver to the state for a different type of pain control that is not approved for the general EMS, but with organizations that have the manpower and skill and resources. We will put a waiver to the state to deliver this medication, so I think this would be good for Trinidad Ambulance District, and just want to see if anybody has any questions for me.
Ketamine?
Ketamine?
Yeah.
That's it.
What it is.
Right.
Right.
All right, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
you.
Have a safe trip.
Thanks.
Any further public
Thank you.
comment? We'll move on to legal counsel proposal review. We discussed this last meeting, and it, Les had sent it just before the meeting, and there's it's just a standard retainer letter that was attached to the board packet. And the district actually saves money. We'll get $55 an hour for paralegal and $150 an hour for actual attorney.
The other one was 200.
200.
My only question is, when there's a conflict of interest, then what are we gonna do?
Well, we can always go, we have Spencer Fain we can go to, because we also have that. But we can also seek outside counsel. He spoke with Audra about this. She didn't feel that just representing us in general business was a conflict, so he's comfortable with it. I'm comfortable with it. He brought up that the proposal that the city has may come back, and in that case, that's going to be more of a board decision than a legal decision anyway, as to what we do.
Yeah, we just need to know the direction we're
Yes.
gonna go,
Right.
when, and if there is a conflict.
Right.
You know, and I won't be here, but.
Yeah, but I agree with what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah, I think anytime we've had something or unresponsiveness, we actually, when I haven't gotten a response from Dodge, I've gone to Les, and when we haven't used him, we use Spencer Fain, right? So that would be our fallback position, since we're already contracted with them. So,
Because you never know, a conflict of interest can arise.
absolutely, and the one thing about Les is I think he's always upfront with that, so before he even, I asked him if he'd be interested, and he said, well, I said, I know you gotta check with the city. And he did, and
They don't have a problem.
they don't have a problem with it, so, I think we're good to go for most of the stuff, because it's contract reviews and things
Yeah,
like that.
It's,
so
I mean, it's a sparing.
Somebody,
Well, I
That
mean,
reads
that's
that
why you
doesn't-
have your attorney. I mean, otherwise, I mean, as far as what Derek and I or George or the rest of the board can do, I mean, that's our decision. But-
Right.
But it boils down to something like that.
Well, there's times we need
Yeah.
Absolutely.
attorney's opinion.
absolutely, and he said, you know, he would be at the board meetings, and he would be, and I was like, you know, we got away from that a long time ago, so it's even easier for you, if we think we need you, we'll
Then we'll
call
call
you.
you, yeah. And I think that works out better for us.
I think so.
It's
Well, and he's here.
Nice to have it here.
Yeah.
If you need.
And I really think if and when we can give business to people in the town of Trinidad, we're
Oh,
better.
it's, yeah.
And it's been so,
Keeps
it was, even when Bob Lamb was in town, it was nice to be able to go over to his office, discuss something, rather than do emails, it was nice, so he's available to us, so I think it's a good move. I think, I've had a good working relationship with Les, I don't know if anybody else, Derek, had a good relationship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have no problem.
right, so, so if the board's okay, I just wanted to, if you authorize us entering into this agreement, then
I make the motion that we enter into this agreement with the law office of Les Dunn.
No, second.
Roll call.
Joe Martinez says.
George Dasco, yes.
Derek Navarette, yes.
There it is.
Number 8, Bank of the West, money market interest rates.
All right, well, thank you for allowing me to stop by for a few minutes to chat with you about some of the options that I discussed with Dan.
well, they didn't, we've had issues with credit cards in the past where we're out of town, they just get cut off, and luckily, we've had this gentleman here to take care of these issues for us, he gets them done like this. And so when he came over and we discussed what we would do from, on a go-forward basis, he said, you know, I was looking at what you have in the bank, and you've got everything kind of in the same thing. We could do some, keep it a little bit longer, and it'll make you more money, put some in a medium thing, put some in, so, in other words, instead of just having the one money market, spread it out so that we've got some that is earning more interest in a longer money market,
Right.
and then have some that is available, will be coming up in like 90 days or 120
Yeah, you
days.
definitely don't want to tie all your money in the long term.
No,
Because you may need some.
absolutely.
So you want some of that tied up in the short term, but that you're not gonna use. What about the building? I mean, this is that money that we put away?
I
Right.
thought that was something.
There's, well, it's gonna have to come out of that, because that's where most of the 2.5 million is.
Yeah.
That I get into the director's report, we've got a realtor that's coming with a client to look at this building tomorrow. So it may happen more quickly, but I'm also putting my RFPs to level that land, and take down, it's one of the things I said when I was talking to him, because I wanted to put up an 8-foot fence, and he said, well, you've also got buildings on there that they have a code about dilapidated buildings, so I said, yeah, we talked about taking that down,
Yeah,
so.
we really need to clean
Right.
up that area.
And so I'm
We
putting out,
talked about that before.
I'm gonna do an RFP, so we get to review it, so basically it'll be bids. People will.
Yeah, then guaranteed.
Right.
We get more people.
Right.
If we can have you just announce your name,
No,
just for the.
yeah, absolutely. Fred Sanchez, branch manager, Bank of the West here in Trinidad. And I had sent out a couple of just abstract proposals for what we call a CD ladder. I believe they're in your notes there. And I worked up 3 just very, very general proposals based on $1 million targets, leaving a good amount of the sum in the money market in a fully liquid account. But I had built up 3 different proposals that would be very, very easy to modify based around $1 million. $1 million moved into public fund CDs. Okay. 2 of the proposals have $200,000 chunks. One of them is built around $100,000 chunks. I did that just for the sake of having the numbers. But essentially, where I think would be, I think we could make a good difference here, and these are up to date as well, up to today's date, would be in staggering CDs with a targeted liquidity date that you all need and would work around your future plans, whether that be a year out, thank you, 6 months out, 2 years out, wherever it may be, and setting up the staggered CDs. As the CDs mature, for example, with the one I have labeled short-term 200,000, we start them out 90 days all the way out to 1 year. The earnings right now are well in excess of where you're at right now. Currently, you're earning a very small sum on that money of 0.05. In each of these right here, you'd be starting off even with a 91-day CD well over 10 times that, with our 12-month CDs earning just a touch over 1%. So definitely leverage money that has been sitting for quite a while while still maintaining liquidity.
Probably should have been smart enough to do this earlier. I mean, really, in all reality, that way we get the biggest bang for our buck. But I think we didn't look that far ahead, and we probably needed to, but we were looking at maybe building a building right away instead of.
Well, and I think we discussed this, but then we didn't know with the taxes dropping, if we were gonna have to keep it liquid and pull
That's
that.
what put us off for a while,
Yeah.
that big deal right there.
Now, everything that I had built out right here, of course, it just has total interest earned over the entire period. With the traditional CD ladder, as the shorter term CD matures, we have on our rate sheet what we call flexible term CDs on the top right here, where we could set the maturity date to be a specific target date instead of defaulting to round numbers, 12 months, 6 months, whatever it may be. So we could take a matured CD and then renew it at a specific date that matches what the ambulance district needs are for your project or any other needs, to make sure that when you need access to those funds, they will be liquid and available to you. Now, depending on what you forecast your liquidity needs at, the 12 to 18 month maximum maturity, they may not fit what you have or where you're at right now. So we could always go with just a series of shorter term CDs, even if we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 month terms, and renewing those as those go along within that short term window. Even if we go with that, as opposed to the longer term scenarios that I had laid out right here, you're still going to be earning substantially more than you are right now, and then keeping that that relatively short term liquidity in place so you can move the money around when you need to. Also, of course, very important, all of the CD rates that I have pulled here are certified public fund CDs, so they meet the collateralization requirements that, of course, we're required to follow per state law, and also to protect the district's assets. But as I say, I have went ahead and produced the generic scenarios. If you have a specific time frame that you have in mind for your project or for whatever other needs you may have, let me know, and I can work out a very, very specific plan for you that would accomplish your goals of having the money put access when you need it, and also maximizing your earnings. It's a rather fortunate time to be looking at something like this right now. Traditionally, public funds see %.
What's the penalty? Is there a penalty if we?
There is a penalty. There is a penalty, and it would be $25. On the 12 month, it would be $25 plus 3% of the amount withdrawn. So it's very critical that we make sure and set up the CDs so the district would not absorb those penalty, and we want to make sure that we're being very mindful of that. Even if we went with shorter term CDs ranging from the 30 to 90 day window, it would be a little bit more work, but we can continue renewing those as we go along. Advising you of the rates as we go along, but renewing those as we go along to make sure that we're never more than a month or two away from maturity in this period.
I don't know, but I would think that we'd probably want to put at least a third of that money in short term.
Oh, yeah.
And the rest in long term.
I'm
Because
kinda
I
look at
don't think we're going to use that money right now, and
No.
I think we have some money that we could use to wind this over, I think.
Yes.
I mean, you could tell me.
No, I know, I was thinking, but actually I'm thinking a third in the long term, and then take a third and put it in the medium, so keep, but rotate it like he was saying, so that there's a third of it that's in there, but it keeps rotating, so one is always gonna be kind of liquid to us, and then, take what's left, and if you want, maybe, I could sit down with Fred, and we can, what we think the return would be on those, to make a decision. So today would be,
Well, I don't think we're ready to make a decision.
No.
And I won't be next week either.
no, you won't.
No cake for you.
Can't do that. We're not the same.
But he may be the guy that comes to the meetings and sits in the audience and signs up for public comment.
Okay, cake for you.
I don't think you'll see that.
You never know, you never know.
But I think that would be the way to go. That's because I'm fairly conservative when it comes to this stuff, so I want to make sure that we always have the funds available. That's the way we've always budgeted, very conservatively, making sure that, you know, we kind of under-promise and over-deliver on everything, so I think that's, so if that's okay with you, we could sit down and look at what we've got in there, what we can take and put in certain amounts, and then I'll come back and we can, I'll give you specific numbers, and maybe you can come back at the next meeting, and then we can, that way, when you get questions that are out of my league, Fred can answer it.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of that, Chief, I had built up a quick spreadsheet that'll allow us to go and dial it down to exactly what you need.
Oh, perfect.
And get you a very specific return.
I like
We'll
it.
just get the exact numbers that you need and that you can approve and feel comfortable with.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
Nothing like being proactive.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I'll get with you.
Sounds good.
Make an appointment. And we'll-
Sounds good.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and leave my card as well, and then I'll go and actually let you get on with your business and whatnot. Then we'll go and coordinate a meeting.
We'll get in touch.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
we'll give you a
Sounds
shout.
good. And then also, Chief Barb, I do want to go ahead and touch base with you next week regarding your credit card.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to, I looked at a couple of options and I have the consolidation that I want to get put in place, but I just wanted to talk.
Well, if you get the
about it.
time, we'll just set up a meeting for next week and we'll do that.
Yeah, I'll be in all next week, so
Awesome.
just let me know what time works for the both of you and I'll work around your schedule.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Fred.
You're welcome.
Good seeing you.
Haven't
seen you for a long,
It has been a long time. It's good to see
Didn't
you.
even know you were in Trinidad.
Yeah, 12 years back now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, indeed.
You didn't need to hear that, did you?
This is my high school principal and athletic director right here.
There's a lot of people in town that can say that. That's,
There we go.
Another one.
yep.
Yeah, I can honestly say Fred was one of our better students.
You knew that was
But
coming.
the truth hurts, right?
You knew that was coming there.
I've been around him too long.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you next week.
All right,
Thank you.
Financial and billing report.
Okay, so the highlights are, we've got roughly 3.3 in the account, which is $132,000 more than we had this time last year, which always gives me a good feeling. We're still waiting on tax money to come in, so that's when we'll start bouncing back up to higher numbers. We're finally getting payments from those CMS claims, Medicare, Medicaid. Those are coming in. We had one deposit of $28,000 by itself. So our accounts receivable, I mean, we get $222,000 accounts receivable just for the month of March. So that's a pretty good month. Because generally, it'll be 160 somewhere in there, but we're looking at 222. So we're on track. I extrapolated, not including the money from just from fee for service. We should meet or exceed that 2.665 million budget number. So I think we're doing fine on that. We're not gonna be pulling money out of our reserves to try and keep the place afloat. We're doing good. The only note, and Bernadette put it on there, payroll was high in March, and that's because March is one of those months where we had 3 payrolls, so it always looks bad for those months. Other than that, I didn't have anything else to report. There wasn't anything else that was out of whack. I think we'll be open till the next meeting.
Have a motion to approve.
Second.
Joe Martinez says.
George Dasco, yes.
Eric Everett. Number 10, director's report.
Mike Dixon was here, conducted his audit, he was here for 6 days, 7 days. And I felt good because in the past years, he's come to me, he said, hey Dan, be in my office, what is this, and what is this? Same thing with Margaret, pulling her. This year it was more questions about how Bernadette was tracking stuff. So rather than call Bernadette, you get Margaret to do it.
So you're busy, huh?
I'm serious. So they really were more Bernadette questions, but I think he liked the idea. Last year he talked about the PO system. We said it really doesn't work here. So we're putting on every receipt, on everything we get, has a number for the chart of accounts. We have Bernadette extend that chart of accounts so we know specifically where those things go.
Tracking you guys.
So he said, that's perfect. He said, as long as I know where that went. So we know it was good because he was kind of, I think he was done soon, and then he started looking at, wanted to know where a vehicle was from 2008. So, I mean, he's been auditing here for how long now? He's starting to go back, and like, so that tells me it was a decent audit because he's going back and trying to find stuff. So, I think overall, lack of a lot of questions is always a good thing, and he didn't have any questions about how we're doing stuff this year. So, I'm thinking the audit went pretty well, but he'll schedule something where he'll come and
Just the changes we made did good.
yeah, well, you always know if there's a lot of questions and he's confused about stuff, then it's not going to be good. But so that I thought that was a good sign when he's going back to 2008.
And the cost on the high end is the same as it was. Because I think he said last year it was 80, he wouldn't charge more than 8,750.
Last year we paid $87.50, this year we paid $65.62.
Yeah, so that's,
Yeah, it wasn't
It was quicker,
15,000
easier.
that one year,
Yeah.
and it was so much easier.
Yeah, I ain't even gonna go there.
There wasn't any crying.
No. I don't even wanna go there.
And I'm talking about me. We've been looking into this, the special operations vehicle, and we're not crazy for thinking about doing this because there's other people that actually look at they actually have made these things. That's what the inside of that looks like. And I had another one.
There's only 2
And this is what I think is actually,
More feasible.
yeah, it's metal and it's, they add a fantastic fan in there for $300, but I think I can live without the fan. So that's about $7,600 for the metal one, which would be, to me, it's a shell, but we can put, have Tony put like a camper. If you're gonna have a sliding camper, they put the electrical back there. So we can put an RV camper unit on top for the air conditioning, and then also put a heater in there. So I don't think we have an issue with just that metal one, because the idea is they're not gonna be in there very long. It's just to get them from wherever they are to the ambulance. And also if we're gonna be, if someone is off the road, like that, the Aguilar tractor, and, you know, there's just places that it's been hard to get to folks.
Hard to get them.
And that truck will get in there, but this way, at least we'll be able to get them out. So really what we need is something to either mount the stretcher or to mount a Stokes basket in there so that we can put somebody in and just get them from point A to point B. And that thing supposedly has the fiberglass. First off, it's fiberglass, and I've never really had good luck with fiberglass. I don't know about you guys. It just seems like they weather faster, and once they crack, then they're. Whereas with metal, if something's metal, I can run down to a bar and you can patch it with something. But the quote on that, without the fantastic fan, would be about $7,700. And then we'd have to put the climate control stuff in there. And I know you guys approved, but I want to make sure that I come to you with that so you know before I would, that's the camper thing. Right, that's the metal, that's this one.
So that would go on.
Right, they would, yeah, it's just basically a can, so it
It's
would
not
clamp.
attached to the truck, it comes, it's not.
No, well, they clamp it, it's just like a camper shell, but it would have the two full-length doors with the windows. It would have a vent up there, and then the cab over part would be a place to put equipment. Right,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And that would go like on.
the blue, and they'll paint it to match. So,
We're gonna put the decals on the back end to make sure everything.
yeah, it's gonna look like the ambulance.
Reflective.
We'll have the
That's what
lettering
I'm saying.
on the side and do the stripes in the back, so, yeah, it'll be a professional looking.
It won't be that plain Jane.
No. That looks like a bunch of narcotics officers watching you with a camera.
Especially,
It should say, Bob's Diaper Service or something, so.
I think it's a good idea to have somebody get, from one place to the other, just that quick and.
And we gave you the latitude.
Right, I just want, before I do, I'm getting quotes, there's not a lot of places that make those.
Yeah.
They make the fiberglass camper shells, but those are actually fabricated to your specifications, they build them for you.
I agree with you, I don't care too much for fiberglass, it's too much work, and if something happens, you.
Well, and on the highway,
It takes a lot of money.
Yeah.
right, but to me, on the highway, fiberglass may be good, there's not a lot of vibration once you get off road, you start banging that thing, I just,
Yeah, that's where you end up with cracks and all this other stuff, and
Right.
other damage that you don't want. No, I've never seen that.
okay. So, that's what I was looking at. Our state grant hearings will be in Denver either May 17th or 18th, we get a lot of points.
And hopefully we'll cover our costs.
We got an ambulance last time.
Yep.
Yeah, good, well, 2 ambulances,
I wore my faded pants.
well, 2.
There you go.
So,
Which grants are
This
you?
year we did the Lucas devices,
Right.
we did the radios, and we did the pediatric.
It's an EMTS grant, the trauma grant.
We did a tactical medical class for law enforcement over at the PD, and I have never drilled holes in a fork line before, but now I can add that, take it off my bucket list. And it was a great class, and it was such a great class that we've been asked to do it 2 more times for people that weren't able to go to it. Andrew was there, Gabe was there, the crews came over, and I'm glad we had it because everybody has that trauma gauze, everybody's got the tourniquets that we got for them, but nobody knew about having to put your finger in the hole, that's how that trauma gauze worked. And Nick was saying, I would have just wrapped somebody with it, but you gotta
Push it in.
stuff it in it, right? And so that's why I drill the holes in the pork loin, and they get used to what it's like to stuff that stuff in there, so.
Keep pushing, because the more you pack it, the more it
Exactly,
stops.
and then the stuff that's in it actually coagulates the blood, so. And one of the things they were talking about, and I think I may have said this at the last meeting at the gathering of eagles, is using foam, like using your house that expanding foam for internal injuries, and it expands in it.
They start using it in trauma surgery, like in abdomens and stuff to expand.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
And
If
I'm
they can use
thinking
that, we can
that
get
stuff's
like
gotta be
little.
toxic.
Well, no, it's a different type, I mean, they're gonna take the,
Yeah.
No doubt.
but that's the first thing I thought was
Coagulates
just the
as well.
stuff I squirt in the hole.
I wouldn't.
Yeah. I think it's a little different.
And I know if you get it on your finger, forget it, it's gonna wear off, it ain't coming off.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't get them off.
But that, we've been asked to do 2 more classes, so I think it went over it went over really well.
They enjoyed, they
And they
enjoyed.
we had the mannequin out there, they got to put the tourniquet on, we did a lecture for them, we taught them about airwave, and we also got new occlusive dressings for sucking chest wounds that the guys, so they know how to do them. So it was actually a pretty good class. We had an employee meeting, and Chaplain Bill came in, and he actually did an excellent presentation on post-traumatic growth. And I think it led to a lot of discussion from people. I think it was really good because he talked about the difference between a team that's working together, and he's actually taken that as the chaplain's manual, the Army Field Manual for chaplains, and what the signs of a dysfunctional team are. And you get to see that, and you're like, oh, well, I've seen this, and I've seen this, but I've seen this too. So we saw what the good characteristics were and the bad characteristics, and it was I want to say, probably an hour at least that there was a discussion. So it was, yeah, it was really good. I think a lot of people learned something about themselves that they didn't know before. It was really important. It was good. He's going to do another class for everybody in public safety that covers. One thing they talked about at the Eagles gathering is that there's no training on how to do death notifications. So you don't really learn how to tell, they just work a cardiac arrest and how do I talk to the family here. So he's gonna go over that, and then he's gonna go over the suicide prevention in public safety, which they're now really addressing, especially in EMS. EMS is a fairly new industry compared to fire and law enforcement, and now they're starting to realize that there's a lot of post-traumatic stress and there's a lot of suicide in EMS, so it's being addressed, and he's gonna come do a class on it. So I think it's great. I asked for people to nominate a Star of Life this year, like we do every year for American Ambulance Association. And Junie nominated John, and John nominated Rob. So I thought, well, if the guy who got nominates someone, then that's who it should be. So Rob is going to be our Star of Life, just like we saw Gabe right there in that picture, where he was with Senator Gardner. Rob is going to go. Rob and I will be in Washington in June, middle of June, for the Stars of Life. And so he'll get his award, and we'll go up, and just like we do every year, we'll meet with Gardner and Bennett and Buck, right? And that's all I have.
Number 11, operations report.
Switch it up this time. You put the meat and potatoes right at the front, because that's what everybody wants to know.
I saw it.
Yeah, and it wasn't even close.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Won by a landslide.
Objective was for Linden Dock this month. For the month of March, we had 174 requests for service. I'd imagine April's probably gonna be high. Monday, the West crew ran 12 calls by themselves. So April's been a busy month so far. So I'd imagine that's gonna keep climbing. We had 16 cancels for the month of March, 12 refusals, 3 DOAs, and 3 standbys. 106 total transports. We had 33 transfers for March. Still averaging 1 a day. A shift ran 70 calls for the month of March, so they were busier than the other 2 shifts. But East and West broke out evenly, as they usually do, so not a lot to report there. So that's all I had for the ops reports, but Chief Moynihan asked me to work on a new patch, because our patch has so many colors.
And the wrong color for the state flag.
So this is what I came up with, and everybody seemed to like it at the employee meeting.
That's my cell phone.
Oh.
I have a
It's
problem.
loud.
It's pretty. It's 'cause it's always like-
So it's kind of neat to incorporate the Colorado flag, the
That's what I'm
correct
saying.
colors, and
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
Your current patch has 10 colors in it, and the Colorado flag, the inside the C is orange.
I like that.
Very
Okay.
hard to transcribe on certificates and stuff like that too, that's gonna be much easier.
I have one thing we put under miscellaneous, but we talked about that Stop the Bleed, and George, I defer to you because you were talking about in the classrooms really where they're gonna need those kits, and there's 285 classrooms.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it
that's,
would be.
yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Branson has 20, Aguilar has 45. School district, Trinidad School District has 120. So there's a ton. And I think the cheapest we came up with was about $60 per kit.
About 65 was the cheapest I could build one with the same stuff.
And if you 65 times 285 is $18,500. So if you want to do one for every classroom, that's,
I think that's, us doing this, I would say that's not a problem. And it's what I'm thinking. I mean, so they can have some in the classrooms and stuff like that. I'd say, yeah.
what I was thinking is if we do that all at once, then everything's all this stuff expires because it's medical stuff.
Right.
So maybe what we do is either half and half, or a third and a third, so that we can budget every year to not.
For this?
Yeah.
Not,
You have to look long-term.
And
right,
just put-
that's
just-
what I'm looking at, is that we're gonna put this stuff in, what is it, 4 years, that stuff is good for, I think?
Yeah.
The stuff the last stuff you looked at was
4 years.
4 years.
So just.
And so every
incorporate it
4
into
years,
the
we'll be
budget.
blowing 20 grand. So if we do it in thirds, or do a half this year and a half next year, at least we're not blowing 20 grand every year and doing that. But we can still 60 classrooms. I mean, really, if Branson, they got 20 classrooms, I don't know how many they're using.
Yeah, but I would imagine
Yeah,
some
I
of
would-
those aren't,
I
They
would
might
say,
might put them in.
if they got 20,
classes
you
at
do
the
10.
Right.
yeah.
And that's what I'm thinking, is to actually find out
half.
what because I don't think Trinidad School District is using all 120
No.
classrooms.
No.
So
No,
find
I
out what you're using, and how many do you really need, and then if it's closer to a realistic price. Again, we're gonna do this over the summer, the idea is to have it implemented so that we
Before
can
school starts
teach,
again.
right, when the teachers come in for that, we do that, the standard response protocol and stuff in the fall, in the summer actually. In August, when we're doing that training, we do it all at once, so that we show them the kids and they know where they are.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
and I don't think every classroom is being,
Mhm.
Yeah, I know they're not at Honey, because we've been out there and we've done training, and there's like furniture in a classroom, extra furniture and stuff, so. But, I think if we get the vast majority of classrooms, we're good, and,
or you could get a wing or something, 2 classrooms.
Even if they know where
one is.
Yeah.
well, and we can do that, we could do that cheaply, but we talked about doing, having each wing or each end of a hall or something, but then you were like in the classrooms where they're gonna need them, so I didn't know if you felt like there had to be one in each
Yeah,
classroom. or-
but, I also think that there's some places where classrooms are common with a door inside,
Mhm.
and that one could have one,
Right,
I think we wanna utilize our money, but, service everybody if we can.
well, I think what we'll do is maybe over the summer, we'll go out and we'll do a needs assessment and look at,
How many
how many,
total? Because you figure there's, there's, I know for a fact there are ones that they don't use.
Well, that building was built for 1,000 students,
Yeah.
and there are 2 something, so,
Yeah, if
there's
you're lucky,
something
300,
unused.
and that's it,
okay, so that's what we'll do, is we'll go through each school and do a needs assessment, talk to the administrators there and see what their feeling is on it, and I think we don't have to end up having to get 200 and almost
Hello.
300 kids.
Yeah,
Okay,
but I think we
Yeah.
want to service them too.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll go to each one,
It's under miscellaneous, the reminder for the May 8th is the TED Board of Directors Election Day. Also the 23rd annual meeting of the election of officers.
And you have the copier bids in here, are you doing anything with them, or just information?
That was just, we put those in there, talked about looking at them, but we haven't had any issues with this, but like I said, it's been 6 years. Well, it was in the old building, so probably a little over 6 years. We've had that copier, so if it's working fine, we don't want to do anything, but because it's over my spending authority, if something happens to it, we're just thinking, do you guys want to authorize if this breaks, then we can replace it, or, because that's going to be something we have to.
Well, and another thing, if it breaks with, like, I think he said by the end of this year, you won't be able to get parts for it anymore.
Right.
So if it does eventually break, we can't fix it. So we have to buy it.
We'll look at another option.
Well,
So we're thinking is just have like an emergency authorization, and then we would just budget it for next year, since they won't have parts for this thing anymore.
yeah, that quote may change by next year too, but,
Right.
we've gone with Gobins, and we haven't had a problem, right, at all, and we haven't had a problem with service.
Their services.
None, and then the other thing is that when we tried to get quotes from other people, they don't want the closest ones.
Well, we got one from Tescosa, which is in Raton.
Yeah,
Here
there's
in
one here,
Trinidad.
but they're higher than
Right.
Gobins anyway.
And Globus has always had somebody, there's a guy here that comes in,
Well, John Tree Hill.
John
Right.
comes in, yeah.
and so it's,
And I think they service the schools.
I think he services everybody.
I met John when I worked at the city.
Yeah. So it's just, we know this thing is, like I said, we've had a few issues with it, nothing major. He's come and fixed it, but again, next year, there's not gonna be, so if it breaks, it's just an emergency authorization if you want to go ahead and, yeah, do what's in the bid. And then next year, we'll put in a budget for
There's 3 bids, which one do you want?
the Gobin, I think was the,
The least
For
expensive.
8,000?
The
Yeah.
one for 8,000?
Yeah.
Because there's one for 11,800.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, they're different machines. I asked them to give us quotes on different machines that were
But this is the same
comparable.
machine we have.
Pretty much, it's, yeah.
it's same, it's,
The one from Raton is way higher. Or I shouldn't say way higher, $800. That's not way.
So the quote for $8,000 is the machine that's comparable to this one, just a lot
And
more.
You'd be satisfied with that?
oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, they actually brought it here. They had to rent a truck. And we looked at it, and it's the same size. It's easier to use, and then they said included in that, they would come and set everything up for us, so all the scanning and all that. Yeah, they should. Otherwise, I have a paperweight.
Make a motion that we go ahead and authorize, if this breaks down, go ahead and purchase that other one of $8,776.53.
So moved.
Joe Martinez, yes.
George Gaskell, yes.
Derek Everett.
All right, we've taken care of all of this.
Yes.
Because you never know. It's working now.
Andrea's got her
Tomorrow it never worked.
stuff set up with, she's actually gonna do video classes here. Remember we set that up? We
Yeah.
approved that?
We got the camera working, we've got a Polycom system, we've got microphone systems. So, and not only that, with the setup in there, not only are we gonna have live camera feed, but also I'll be able to put my desktop, which will be PowerPoint, to every student that's doing it, so they'll be able to see it direct. And we'll have a
Pretty phenomenal,
camera
yeah.
that goes to the board, so when I do a lot of writing on the board, so we'll be able to do that. It's
Good.
yeah. And we have 5 of our employees. We opened it up to EMTB. Got some really solid basics that are just about, maybe behind the eyes. So I have 2 of our basics that are actually going to go through paramedics. So we'll start them in July, and then the eyes will start in August, and we'll wrap up everything, and we'll have 7 new paramedics, which is more than we have right now, by about March or April.
Good.
And are you guys aware of the I-25? We all kind of met with Bridgetown Fire Department. I guess at the port entry, they're going to be going
No,
down
it's
to one
done.
way.
It's closed.
It's closed, yeah, well, and it has a concrete barrier. So when you're going south, you need to stay south. When you're going north, you need to stay north. I met with Dr. Weber today, and what we're gonna do is crossing state lines. We're just gonna utilize our own operating procedures. So we'll work under Dr. Weber's, and they'll go to their hospital. So we're making arrangements with the MCMC, the hospital in Richmond, to transport straight down if we have certain roads. Right, yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, because there's no turn, that's all, right at where the trucks come out, is all, it's all Jersey barrier, and it
is.
comes out into that one. So their concern was,
It's like a
if
death.
truck hits car, car hits a truck, done.
I
It's
went
just
up
gonna
over
back up
yesterday
into
and
the
looked out,
space.
that
Yeah.
thing's a cluster.
Just a kudos to Honey, or to Junie. I registered 13 kids at Honey High School to take the EMR, which is Emergency Medical Responder. I spent 3 days with them. They were great, terrific. We did their practical. It's National Registry Month, so we're doing their practical on the 14th. I have one on the 12th, and then we have the EMTs for this county on the 15th that we're going to be unproctoring them so they'll be certified. There'll be another about 30 EMS providers. So we're just cranking along.
And May 20th through 26th is EMS week. So we'll probably be barbecuing and washing crews' trucks and doing things like that, so. It's EMS week, that's what we do.
It was a good turnout last night.
When he says we, he means me.
Oh,
Yeah, I have to work.
We
that day.
usually
I mean,
mean
I'm
somebody.
proctoring.
yeah.
It better include somebody. Put it that way.
So the 23rd is the next.
Yep.
So no, anything for executive session number 13?
I don't think so.
For the next meeting date, Wednesday, May 23rd, 2018, as per bylaw section 4, Wednesday of every month, and that's 6 a.m. bylaws. Everybody good with that date?
Yep, I'm good with that.
Motion to adjourn.
So.
Second.
Bill Martinez, yes.
George Nasko, yes.
Yeah, right, yes.
Okay.
Oh.